Good evening, good night, and I guess good morning to the European folks, and good afternoon to anyone over in sort of Australia, Asia, wherever you might be. Welcome to this, the final restreamed race of week 2 of the Adamant Cup group rounds here in the Artemis Bow group between David and Frankie Bones. Joining me on the restream team today, behind the scenes on the actual restream, is S-Grunt. On the tracking is the Bardic Panda, and my co-commentator today is NG Dave. How are you doing today?
I am doing great, and looks like we've got a race between these two fantastic runners.
Yeah, absolutely. A Tella start, always really interesting to see in these flags, where it feels like Tella hasn't really had as much use as he's had on some other flag sets. That drop down to only 4 party members kind of has led a lot of runners to dip out utility before anything else. And a lot of interesting objectives today as well. A little fairly key item heavy with that forge, as well as I think it's 6 total key items required overall.
Let's see, we need the Luca key for Seal Cave, we need the 2 parts of the forge, we need Twin Harp, the Pan, Darkness Crystal, and Baron Key. I count. We'll say 8 because we need Underground Access too.
Yeah, so this is going to be one of those very long, very deep races no matter what, because they're going to have to go quite a ways into that seed. Where were you think that, with this start, with these objectives, with this Tella, I got to think you're probably pretty tempted to head to Ordeals as early as possible here.
And with Tella around, you want to get him online, you want those level 3 elemental spells, you want Berserk. I believe he starts with Blake.
Indeed he does, and just I think a lot of it's going to depend too on who the partner character is. I think if we have like a Tella and say one of the twins start, you're going to see a lot of those early easy checks a lot quicker. But let's say that you get like a Tella with an edge alongside, then you might be tempted to just go ahead and dive one of those later ones again, like that Mount Ordeals even earlier, maybe after picking up the character off Mount Hobbs.
Agreed. Although since we do have the C Neki flag on, Edge is not guaranteed to start with a functional weapon. So he may want to do a little bit of shopping, a little bit of looting, make sure he could do things.
Yeah, definitely a lot of moving parts we won't really know until we get underway. And just to give a little bit of context to this race too at this point in time, it is worth noting that the Artemis Bow group that these two are in is one of the 7 runner groups that we have in this particular stage in the tournament. So, you know, this is a very, very important race for both of our runners. A 0-3 record to start is not in any way counting you out. Even in the 6-player groups isn't counting you out, as it's looking like we might have 2 and 3 play-in. So there's a lot to play for here. And hey, there's one of those twins and a Sparkle sitting here at that Beigen spot.
Yeah, Tella and Porum, that's an interesting starting party.
Yep, but there's that Pan already on the board. You gotta be very tempted to fade the bull, but at the same time, you know, with these two characters where you kind of are maybe wanting a little bit of experience to get that Porum going alongside some weapons to make her able to hit things, it's kind of difficult in some ways to fade the bull if you're not already set up to go further.
Agreed. So I think we may see a little bit of early looting, maybe trying to find a decent bow for Porum, a heroin robe, maybe get some J items to clear some of the early checks.
Well, it looks like Frankie's just going to go ahead and go straight into Evelyn. I wonder if this is going to be an everything but the trap chest immediate thing. Meanwhile, David heading over to check the bedward check here in Troya. Of course, in this tournament, we do have the free key item from this instead of the D-Mist Hunt. And it does look like that's going to be just a Dragoon armor, so that's not going to give them any other options that aren't already on the table.
Well, at the very least, it's money. I believe that sells for 10,000.
Yeah, it's money. It's also, you know, if you have a character that can equip it later on and you hit like a really bad Magus Sister spot later on, you can pop it right on them, make it much, much easier because it takes out that. Looks like, I believe that was a power shirt and a Gungnir over on Frankie Bone's side in some of these, as well as a Stardust as a J item, which could actually be quite useful right now.
Power Shirt, a Stardust, and Boreas can get you through a few early checks on their own.
Definitely. Now, would you say with this Tella on the table that you might be looking, as we see David pop into that armor shop already, you might be looking for a cursed ring a bit more heavily than you might in other possible starts that we have going on here?
Yeah. With Tella, you can always find anchors later on if you can always find anchors later on. I think keeping Tella alive just for his utility is going to be more helpful. Yes, I'll peek the normal spots for Curse Ring. If I don't find one, meh, we'll work without it.
Definitely. It's looking like David here is going to be landing over on the far side of Mount Hobbs to give us our first character check of the seed. Be very interested in seeing who's here, because I think that if it's not one of the big heavy hitters, you're sort of bracing yourself for having a bit of a, not necessarily difficult, but a bit rougher of an early game than you might see otherwise.
Seeing some other things Frankie Bones has dug up in Evelyn, Frankie Bones is going to be hunting for a cane.
Yeah, it really is kind of the Kane starter kit there, the Gungnir and the White Spear now. Over on David's side, though, up on this Mount Hobbs, finding a Yang, which is okay, but not amazing. But only having to fight a Mylon Z for it's a pretty good trade here.
I don't know if you saw the other thing in Evelyn Castle. There's also a Zeus Gauntlet in there. And a bandana, so that is the full melee character starter kit.
Yeah, and also, as Mecha is pointing out in chat, a ninja sword as well for a theoretical edge, but at this point in time, the earliest we're going to find either of those characters is going to be in that Baron Inn, and there's still no guarantee that either of them will be there, so while this may be a very, very good haul of items for Frankie Bones, he hasn't really found much of anything outside of those couple of J items that will help him right now.
That's very true. Or those J items will, as you said, help right now. It'll help Frankie Bones find the rest of the power.
Definitely. I think where he goes from here is going to matter. Where both of our runners decide to start taking their first actual checks is going to be very, very important, and when. I'm also curious, with Frankie Bones doing that looting in the side of Evelyn Castle there, if he might be tempted to go and check public treasury, or if he might just decide, hey, I'm just going to go get my freaky item from Bedward and head on out here.
Yeah, we can still see what Frankie Bones decides to do. David is lighting the Mylon Z on fire, hopefully gets through that, or doesn't seem to be having too much trouble with it.
Yeah, definitely, and I believe, to answer a question from chat, I believe Yang should be able to equip the power shirt that we found in Evelyn, so that will definitely help Frankie Bones quite a bit in getting through this once he gets there. Definitely, I would say he has a little bit of an advantage right now, but the amount of time that this Mylon Z is taking almost makes me feel like that might be something for after, say, Antlion Cave or something like that, just to get a little bit more experience, just to get this done a little bit faster, because this is not going very quick at all.
The other thing is, Frankie Bones will have an easier time with that Mylon Z just because of the J items.
I think it's going to depend a little bit on whether or not he wants to burn them there. It's going to be the big question to me, because I think there's going to be a certain temptation to think, you know, it's only a Mylon, you can beat him up and it's fine, you don't have to worry about it. But I think you're right that using the J items there might actually be the better option.
Another Zeus Gauntlet on back of Hobbs.
That'll help equalize that advantage a little bit. That Zeus Gauntlet's going to help out that Yang quite a bit. I think we're in pretty good shape right now on both sides. Not the best shape that you could possibly have on these flag sets, but I don't think either runner is going to have any problems right away.
So that does help even out our loot, or bring us a little bit closer to loot parity between our two runners.
Yeah, definitely. I think, what are you hoping to see here at this point in time? What are you hoping for? Something that like a magma key that helps you underground without the hook, or are you hoping for more overworld checks to kind of just keep getting that Yang online? Because I know Yang is as a berserker character, is the one that wants levels more than any other one, and just any little bit of early experience might help, especially with how many key items are going to be required in the seed.
Oh, I would be searching for underground access immediately. Frankiebones learning, yeah, Mylon absorbs ice.
I mean, look at him. He's clearly absorbs ice, just like how he's clearly flying. It makes perfect sense. Well, if you're gonna find a CPU anywhere, finding them here in the Antlion Cave where it's not going to be that difficult chewing down this HP might be one of the better options.
We do see Porum choosing some violence against Mylon Z. Yeah. On David's side, the CPU fight. Porum with Porum started with a short bow, which is, well, the lowest roll possible.
It would be nice if we were to get some good things to let Porum hit things. Like a heroin robe obviously is the best option there, but even just like a good bunch of arrows and a bow that has a bit better accuracy than the short bow has, because absolute hugest drawback is that she can't actually hit anything with it. So it'll be interesting to see if we land on any of that, if either of our runners are able to sort of leverage that theoretical Porum to get through some of this, because she can do some work if you actually get the parts for her.
Agreed, and that's to what you were saying about getting underground access immediately. Under S standard, we can buy heroin robes in gated shops.
Definitely. So even, you know, you may hate to see a hook route with this particular setup where you don't have any of the big name characters that are good for busting down hook routes. You have a sort of serviceable team, but not an amazing team. Finding heroin robe in that Evelyn Cave shop could be pretty huge as well.
I've seen some of the things our runners have picked up. Dragoon armor you can sell for 10,000, the whistle for 10,000. That's a lot of money to go towards the heroin robe.
Definitely, but this is all kind of theoretical, unfortunately, because these early game bosses have not been ones that we can take out that quickly. CPU, unfortunately, between Porum not being able to quite hit with that short bow and Yang kind of having that problem hitting the back row outside of, I believe, Power still does full damage to the back row. Kind of not great there.
I don't think it does. I think it's just a double damage.
Yeah, I might be misremembering. I might just be thinking of it avoids counters as that. So that would make sense there. We are seeing a heart, though, picked up from this Antlion Cave check. So that is now open to both of our runners as well. And that might keep them away on the overworld instead of wanting to necessarily go underground if they say find a hook early.
I think here we're going to see that extra looting pay off, just the plus 30 strength Yang has on Frankie's side paying off.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good summary of this flag set as a whole, just from a design principle. It's all about how much you can build up speed after you spend a lot of time doing something, and as long as Frankie can make up the time he spent looting, it should be fine. And right now, given that David is going back and doing the same looting afterwards, that might actually lean towards Frankie's side, because if they're both going to do the same looting, the one who had that loot to get through the two bosses is going to be the faster in the end.
Agreed. You want the loot before you fight so you can use the loot.
I'll be very interested in seeing where Frankie goes from here, because at this point in time, with David doing his looting, Frankie is definitely a little bit in the lead right now. Definitely sort of in the driver's seat. The question is, does he continue, or does he try and fade Fabul with that pan in hand, or does he just head over there and decide, you know what, 2 trips to Fabul isn't too bad. It looks like he's taking the third option of, I'm going to go down Watery Pass, see what I can find for more items.
So he may think he doesn't quite have the power to get through some of these other checks.
Ooh, and David heading straight to ordeals here. This is going to be a very spicy play. It might be a little bit of a rough time getting up through some of these bosses depending on what rolls up here, but I really like that play outside of that.
And we see Poison Claws around. Those are fairly nice weapons for Yang. He's going to have a lot of strength. And this play, as long as you don't get something nasty in slot 1, that spot has no physical attack.
Definitely, and also I want to note a curse ring over on Frankie's side in that watery pass. So if he wants to curse that Tella later on down the line, or if he say finds a food, that takes care of, you know, anchoring later on. So that's a pretty good thing for him to find here.
So we've got a little divergence. David's going to show us what's on ordeals, and Frankie's about to defend the castle.
Have a little bit of a spicy hot take for today that I think is getting a bit more agreed with as time goes on. I don't think that going to Fabul right away if you have a pan is necessarily as bad of a thing as it gets made out to be sometimes. It's not that long of a walk. As long as you can route it in when you're actually going somewhere, it usually ends up fine. And, you know, this Kainatsu here is not going to really pose that much of a problem as long as this lit lands right in time, which it really should.
And even without that lit, the wave there could not kill anyone. Wave caps out at 6% of Kainatsu's current HP. This spot has 2,000.
It always feels like it has more than 2,000 when you get some teams and some bosses here, though, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, it does.
But a Baigan at this first spot where, like you mentioned, not very high on physical attack. Great place to see a Baigan. Great place to have to deal with it. Better than on the other side where it might have, you know, possibly even tripped David up beyond that. Should be a pretty easy thing for him to get through, and we'll see what's on the other side. I think that's going to be the big question of this Ordeals play.
Yeah, you see the physical attack hitting Yang for 16. The back row tip had 1.
Get another 25 of those or so on Yang, and he might start to have some problems. So that is a little bit of a risk that you're taking here in this case. Frankie is through that Kainatsu fight here in Kabul and getting a pass for it.
Finds an upgraded bow for Forum. She'll be slightly more accurate now.
Definitely. Unfortunately, that pass not really going to sort of pay off the kind of gamble of taking Fabul when you have a pan in hand and relinquishing the chance of single dipping it, but probably better to have that off. Getting some tents, not really what you're looking for in terms of big ticket items. That illusion might come in handy, but not amazing pickups outside of that bow helping pour him a little bit here.
Honestly, I don't mind the Fabul play early with this party, just to get levels on Yang so he can punch harder. With his attack form, he gains 2 points of attack every level.
Definitely, and it's one of those things where if you're gonna see a Yang in a siege, you probably want to see him early, so it is good that we picked him up now where he might actually have a chance to shine. I think he's probably not necessarily the best character in these flags just because of how much you have to invest in him. When other Berserkers, you don't need to invest levels as heavily, but it is going to be good to see what we can pull off with this party so far. And Antlion on the other side, not the best thing to find here.
No, Antlion has decided to go on vacation from the moon today.
I mean, he did pick like the most moon-like background to sit on in the whole of the overworld, though. So that is something, you know. It's like he didn't want to go too far from the moon. He wanted to go just far enough.
And this is a spot where our monk can shine. Power punches do not trigger the counter script. Do not trigger Antlion's counter.
Yeah, it's one of those hidden values that we could have found here. You know, if we had found, say, an edge, while an edge might have done a bit more damage to get through this spot quicker, you're still dealing with all those counters when Forum isn't really online to heal yet. Tella's not really able to heal either, so finding that Yang might have actually been quite a good thing in the context of this one particular fight.
And we see that this spot is significantly punchier than the spot that came before. And those counters will... I think a counter might just one-hit kill Porum at these levels.
Definitely, obviously, we haven't seen how much those counters are going to do because we don't really have anything in our strategy that is going to trigger them. But just those regular attacks hitting for over 100 each, you know, that's not great. But David is through it, and, you know, very well played there.
Well done. And we did see Baigan being a little rude on Frankie's side. The last arm exploded and decided to deny Yang some XP.
That could be something that, you know, sort of tilts things a little bit back into David's favor a little bit more. I don't think that Frankie's Yang is behind where, yeah, I think they're pretty much the same level going into this fight, so it won't really slow him down any, but it might slow him down in future fights and might just drag that little bit of extra time that David might need. We're about to see what this Ordeals check actually gives, though.
That's a... Well, this Ordeals is required.
That's a spicy moment. And that's a gated character check if you want to head up and check it right away, too, which is gotta be definitely very, very tempting for both of our runners right now.
That would... So, with this party and the darkness, where would you head up and immediately check it?
I think it's a bit hard for me to say because usually when I'm playing through a seed, I immediately land outside of Baron and check who the character is in the Baron in. I think yes, but I think if I knew who that Baron in character and if it was like a Fu or someone like that, it might be a little bit of a different situation there.
Our Runners Flag said Fu cannot be hiding in Baron Inn.
Not Fu. Edge is the one I meant.
Edge would be good there. Kane for both our runners would be fantastic there, given all the gear we found.
Yep, I mean, definitely. There's many good options. I do think that both of our runners probably would benefit from heading up there. I'm not even sure. There might be some hidden rudeness in the Baron Inn that might even be a bit rough for this party to deal with as well. So that might be worth it too. Frankie getting through that antlion fight, but unfortunately Porum going down and not getting her closer to those real good benefits of an early Porum, that early Berserk and early Blink.
Yep. These spots being rude to both our runners. And it looks like David is going to go check that Moon character.
Definitely.
Or at the very least stop him by the race whale because it's an objective.
Yeah, I think either way ends up working out about the same here. I think at this point in time, you know, checking that Moon character, like you mentioned, that Kane would do so much work if we just get him in the party. Honestly, you know, there's a chance of a Fu up there, there's a chance of a Cecil up there, both of whom are always kind of the big tickets. We don't really have the gear for a Cecil yet, but Cecil is Cecil. You'll find the gear. Actually, you might have seen a light sword somewhere now I think about it over on Frankie's side.
I think Frankie found a light sword in Watery Pass. But Cecil, we know we're going to get an Excal at some point this seed.
Yeah, definitely. I think, honestly, you know, even beyond 4 characters, even if you had a 4th character in this party, most anything you can find on that moon is probably going to be an automatic take.
Plus, worst case scenario, I think we saw poison axes on both runners' side.
We will see. Just while we're sort of in this little bit where Frankie's picking up his Darkness Crystal, David's going to be heading to the moon. I want to give a quick shout out again to both of our runners. Make sure that you give them both a follow, as well as our restream team behind the scenes today, S-Grunt and Bardic Panda on the restream and the tracking respectively. Thank you to both of you for all of your hard work as always, and we'll see where the rest of this race goes because we're kind of really only just getting started here.
Oh, and David also checked the moon shop. This is a gated shop, so there may be tier 5 items in here.
I think there's a lot of things that can make your life considerably easier if you find them in one of these early shops. None of those are it. Maybe life potions are nice to have, I suppose, and a vampire can come in handy every now and again. Maybe, well, I guess we already have 3 kamikazes in the inventory. If we didn't have those, I'd say, pick up a kamikaze or 2 for getting through that heart check quicker if you have people you need to knock over to skip the cutscene. But this is a bit of a dud for a moon shop, unfortunately.
Yeah, none of the big ticket tier 5 items. And our runners are looking for hourglass and coffins, Bacchus wine, sirens. Just not here.
Yeah, definitely. Most importantly, we have still not seen our underground access yet. It's either from Baron Inn or from that Twin Harp at this point in time, meaning that, yeah, if you see a hook at one of those spots, you have a very, very high chance that hook route's going to be required. So you're probably hoping for something that'll help make that hook route a bit easier, because it's looking like a 50-50 shot for real right now. And that's a Palom.
That would have been much more useful a little bit earlier, because we could have had at least Virus on it by now.
We could have had at least Virus on him, but access to Twin is access to Twin, and always can be useful on the right circumstance. That might come in a bit handy, but not the big ticket character you're hoping to see here either.
And this is where our runners would love to see an hourglass pop up in the moon shop, because that would have represented taking the hairdryer's chest for some XP on that Palom.
Yeah, you take the hairdryer's chest, you maybe hope that you get something good out of it, but what you're really looking for is Quake right away. I don't think it's enough XP to get there, but, it's quite a ways to the goal there. So for those of you who think that this flag set tends to lean a bit towards Berserkers, have we got a seed for you today?
It leads that way. That doesn't mean it's guaranteed.
I mean, I'm excited to see a mage seed. I haven't seen a mage seed really heavily on these flags yet, so we'll see if that keeps up. There's an edge. Oh, the dream's over, I think.
The mage fairy dream just died.
Oh, but that Pogo is not the sparkle you want to see in the first slot here, where it's just going to take off that nice half your health immediately.
The question is, who leaves David's party and why is it Palom?
Well, I think it might be Palom because of the lack of experience on Palom to give him early game power to get through there, but I could be wrong. But either way, we'll have a black mage by the end of this, because, as was just mentioned in chat, who made this in?
Oh no!
Who did this?
Well, we now know Twin Harps are underground.
Ooh, frankiebones has noticed something very spicy. I am definitely interested in this play. Has gone into Cave Bahamut and found actual Bahamut.
Vanilla here. This is frankiebones says I can take this fight right now.
Definitely, this could be a huge advantage just going through this, especially if, let's say, for example, there is a Twin Harp into Hook, and say exactly Magma Key comes out of this Cave Bahamut. That would be absolutely huge, but I think we're about to see dueling blargs of different shades here on either side of the stream right now.
Oh, and I'm here for that. So you're gonna need 4 reflected Mega Nukes to take out this Bahamut.
Yeah, the bit of the scary part here is you kind of have to, time out the Star Veils, because those Star Veils should run out before the end of this second countdown. So that is a little bit of a rough time getting through that, but should be pretty academic at this point. Porum is walled up, and we should be through it. And meanwhile, David getting that reflect over onto Wyvern, who does not hit that hard, but just enough to be a bit of a problem. Unfortunately, only has Porum alive to get him down the rest of the way.
Yeah, all those life potions found on the moon, we're going to see the value from them.
Here I was saying bad things about the moon shop, and it turns out the moon shop was the MVP all along.
The bunnies gave you exactly what you needed.
This wyvern is very rough. I think this is one of the worst things that David could have found at the other side of this Baron Inn, but he is working his way through it. That nuke is going to be a nuke, going to take Yang back down again anyways. This is looking a bit tough.
On Frankie's side, I think we are one reflected Mega Nuke away. Well, it has to be 2 walls reflecting it to get another quad 9s.
I mean, if I was on frankiebones' side, instead of burning the Star Veils, I would have been really tempted to just burn the Moon Veil at the start of the fight and just put my controller down and wait for the fight to end. David, unfortunately, taking another reset here off of this wyvern. That reflected Mega Nuke going back, and it looks like it's not quite enough yet on Frankie's side.
No, the wall ran out on Palom at an unfortunate time. This one should finish the fight?
No, not quite yet. And Tella is out of MP. You can burn that Moon Veil as long as you got the wall off, which has not happened yet. No, this is looking like it is going to be a wipe on Frankie's side, but...
Nope, that should be it. It looked like the elixir got mismenued on Frankie's side, so... Sees just a Masa and says, not worth all the items I threw, and the XP not where I needed to.
That is unfortunate, because if he'd have known this edge is sitting here at this Baron Inn spot, he might have been thinking a little bit twice, although I guess not having any Star Veils going into Wyvern might have been a little bit of a problem.
I don't hate that reset at all. In fact, I kind of agree with it. Those 3 Star Veils are going to be more valuable than with Frankie's knowledge. Those 3 Star Veils are more valuable than the Masa.
Oh yeah, I 100% agree. I just do think that once he sees this edge sitting here, he's going to be a bit like, well, where did I have a Masa? Oh, that's where it was. And you know, it's one of those rando gonna rando things. You find the edge immediately after finding the Masa, but it's just one of those things that in hindsight probably won't feel that great.
Also, like I said, the XP just didn't go where Frankie wanted it to.
Yeah, definitely. I think at this point in time, you know, David looking a bit more stable through this Wyvern, looking like he might get through it, but I would have been tempted if I was in his shoes to maybe just head and go and check that Twin Harp early, because we know this isn't going to be your logical underground access. There's not going to be a huge amount you're going to get from this outside just getting that edge, and it might be worth waiting until you have a little bit more to sort of deal with this.
Right, although getting 2 Veils up early meant 2,000 damage onto the Wyvern, and Yang was able to punch.
Yeah, definitely. We are having some minor technical issues over on Frankie's side. We'll try to get those fixed as soon as possible. Finding the spoon here over from that fight over on David's side with that edge, that is a goodbye Palom. That is a good dart to have ready for any boss that might possibly want it hurled in his face later, like, say, a D-Mist at one of the high HP spots. And answer a quick question from chat, is Standby Miss an actual sprite? I don't believe it is, but it should be.
It would not surprise me if it was.
Yeah, there's over 550 of them. There is no list in order to keep them a surprise, so there's no way to check, but you know, I kind of wouldn't be surprised if it's in there at this point.
That edge coming with one of the best weapons he can, a boomerang. Means this edge is coming pre-back road.
You know, it's always a good thing to find, you know, that boomerang is gonna do a lot of work in getting that edge further online. It looks like David's going to head back into Evelyn, possibly look at taking these trap chests now, and I like this play. Even if you spent all that time looting earlier, you know, anything you could spike out of those trap chests would be very, very welcome.
And I don't believe David found the ninja sword in here.
Oh, right, that will be a thing as well, so that'll be very, very, very important and worth noting.
That I didn't see it in his inventory.
Yeah, I don't believe he did. I think he only did this left tower and then bailed out. It didn't seem like he was in Evelyn for that long on his first trip. Maybe thinking, you know what, I'll just try and find something that'll get me through a little bit and then go from there. I like this play, but we'll see if it ends up paying off for him here, depending on what drops out of these chests.
I was going to cheer for Tella to hit an all-slot stone, but Tella decided it was nap time.
Yeah, you know, he's an old man. Sometimes you just need a nap. I mean, I need a nap. I'm also old, so it doesn't really change anything.
I mean, let's be fair. You don't need to be old to appreciate a good nap.
Where is that idea that there's like an age band in the middle of our lives in which it's no longer socially acceptable to take a nap? Does look like David is going to be forced to take a reset though there.
I don't know, but it's a bunch of nonsense. Now, looking at these chests, I would be tempted to put Tella in the center slot. Just load him up on wisdom boosting gear and try to land a stone.
Yeah, that's definitely an option. You know, you could get through that at this point in time and possibly get through. It's a little bit rough. And to answer a quick question from chat about not being familiar with Free Enterprise, first of all, welcome. Secondly, there is a flag in the options for the randomizer that allows you to set the maximum party size to less than 5, and in this tournament it is set to 4. So in this case, the flags don't allow you to get more than 4 characters at once, but you can run with a full 5-character party in other flag sets.
Okay, you can, if you choose to do so, you can run a solo character.
I don't recommend doing that, but it is possible.
There are also flags that can limit which characters can show up, which will come into play once we get to the brackets phase of this tournament in approximately 2 weeks, where both Cecil and Fusoya will be banned from showing up in any race. Something Crystal Sword OP.
And meanwhile, while David's getting all this loot, and while we're still waiting for word on the technical difficulties over on Frankie's side, now's a good time to mention, you know, again, if you're new to the community, welcome. We do have a site and a wiki for the randomizer itself. Tons of great information, as well as a very welcoming Discord. More than willing to answer any question you might have. So if you're interested in possibly playing this randomizer, liking what you're seeing, make sure you drop by and give it a try at some point.
And as we do try to keep characters as true to their vanilla selves as possible, so Tella, 90 MP forever.
Yeah, you can find the Soma drop item in a shop or a treasure chest along the way and get his MP up to 100 and let him cast Meteor at that point in time, but it's not an always experience.
Well, who doesn't like letting the old man actually cast his weapon? And hey, remember I said Crystal Sword OP? There it is.
Well, that is something, and while we're enjoying the excitement of a possible Cecil going Burr later on in this seed, I want to give a quick update over on Frankie Bones' side. Did have a crash, unfortunately. At some point in time, as our racers run on a 15-minute delay, you will see a pause over on David's side to sort of allow that to be resolved, but it will be resolved as soon as we can, and we'll get this race back to going for you as soon as we can.
Well, sometimes technology decides it doesn't want to agree with us running a race.
it happens. David is on his way over to this Cave Magnus at this point in time. And, now's a good time to give a little bit of background on that if you're not familiar with the randomizer. We have the little harp tune that gets played in vanilla to sort of break the Dark Elf spell. And that is one of the things we randomize. So very soon here we'll get a very unique and very custom bit of music here. And as one of our admins, Scala Kitty, pointing out in chat and mentioning in chat, it is not going to be a re-roll of this race. It will be just a pause at the request of the runners when it does happen, once we've caught up to that point. So we'll be continuing from that point. At some point, though, this will stop for just a few minutes.
Right. But for now, if we're really lucky, it'll stop in the middle of Edward's song, so we can just appreciate the work of community members Calmlamity, Xenocat, who have done fantastic work with the harp.
Absolutely. It's always something new, always exciting to see. This is my personal favorite of the Easter eggs that are in this game, so I'm always excited to hear it, and we'll be getting to that very soon once we get through this little bit of a cutscene-ish thing here.
We are going to let Edward do his thing. Enjoy the music, everyone.
Realms theme from Final Fantasy VI, always wonderful to hear. We will see what the key item is here from the harp check, and it is Magma Key, so no Hook Seed this time around.
I was kind of hoping for Aquaman to be the boss there, just so we could have Realm versus Uncle Ulti.
Yeah, I mean, that would have been great, but the thing is, it depends on which Ultros fight, Like, the first one, second one, and fourth one, it's fine, but the third one, you just cast Sketch, and then it just immediately triggers its counter where it just ends the fight. It's always fun getting a free boss, but sometimes it can feel a bit anticlimactic on that music check.
At least it wasn't one of those rude bosses that interrupts the music.
Oh yeah, like Vanilla Dark Elf being just the worst vanilla boss to get because of that. Yeah, definitely.
Or Golbez.
I mean, I make exceptions for Golbez. Golbez is always entertaining no matter where he ends up. But hey, there's a cursed ring in this shop here in in Agart, so that is going to negate the sort of advantage that frankiebones has had finding it in a chest in the watery pass. So that is a definitely a good pickup on David's end here.
Okay. You see a curse ring. You sell whatever you need to buy it. Because now you don't need to worry about keeping someone face down as an anchor. You just say, "Oh, I need this person to be slow to make everyone else faster." Have a curse ring.
Exactly, and right now you already have a Tella for that too. You know, you can use his utility throughout the seed, drop a curse ring on him when he's no longer that particularly useful, and just get through quite a bit. If you find a fool later, another great target for a curse ring, as we've seen throughout this tournament. Definitely one of the good pickups that you can have for this particular party setup right now.
So I imagine we're going to seeing David beeline the Dwarf Castle.
Yeah, I gotta expect that at this point in time, but you know, I think he might be a bit tempted to check those freebies as well at some point in time soon. We do have that heart, so that's 3 free key item checks already in there, just going down to the bottom of Sylph Cave, going back up to the overworld. You got the other free key item check in that Fey March. I think as much as you might want a new party member, I would be very tempted to just keep going through those freebies instead and say, you know what? Maybe I don't have to do Dwarf Castle this seed, especially with those sirens already available to do your grind whenever here in Tomra.
That's a very good point. I was thinking, you know, there's a crystal sword burning a hole in his pocket.
Oh right, there is. Never mind then. No, definitely Dwarf Castle. It's kind of, that's the thing about this randomizer though. Sometimes is that, you know, both plays could have a payout. I think Dwarf Castle is a bit more of a gamble. And this is more in the safe plan. It looks like David's just going to go ahead and go with the safety here.
There is also the counter argument where the safe play might lead to, say, a sand ruby, an earth crystal, which leads to a free or an easier character check.
Yeah, that's what's been so fascinating about these seeds throughout this tournament, where you have such a high completion rate that your routing choices early matter a lot more. Hey, they're saying a sand ruby.
Are you accusing me of minor acts of witchcraft?
Yes, but in this case, mostly, a free character is a free character, and when that free character has an ever-increasing chance of being one of the real good ones that we could get at this point in time, you know, I think if you see a Kane, Yang is saying goodbye at this point. You see a Cecil, Yang saying goodbye. You see a Fu, Tella saying goodbye, because why have, you know, diet Fu when you can have regular Fu kind of thing. So it'll be very interesting to see. And Dolls and one of the guards fights, that's a pretty free Fey March as well.
Agreed, especially because there are hourglasses for sale. So you can get hourglass off. Well, the dolls still punch hard.
Yeah, I can definitely see, you know, a good reason to not bother with those 2 fights, especially with those 3 free key items available going down Sylph Cave, going back up, checking Sheila on the overworld. But I think getting those 3 free key items at this point in time definitely might be worthwhile instead of going through those fights when you can just come back to those fights later. I would be saying my next thing to do is those fights, though.
Agreed. The first spot, have we seen Hypo guards or Baron guards yet?
I don't believe we have. I think we've seen... No, because we saw, that was Baigen that we saw earlier. I was like, I know I've seen that sprite, but it's the red flavored one that is for Baigen instead. We'll see what the Sylph Cave actually gives, though.
As with if it were Officer Soldier in that Queen spot, 1 hourglass completely shuts it down. You don't even take the queued attacks.
Well, Crystal Ring is one of those good songs that I like seeing that ends up a bit underrated. That bit of extra agility that you can pop on any character that might need it, very versatile and very, very useful in these flags, I feel.
And if Pale Dim were still in the pool, D-Lunars are still out there, I believe. Or we've seen D-Lunars already. Or I see bleeding.
I think you might be misremembering at this point, although I could be wrong. Okay. I don't remember either. Now I'm questioning myself.
Yeah, D-Lunars, if D-Lunars are still out there, you can't underestimate that dragon resist.
Do you take a Rosa at this point if you have a Porum that's already got levels? David's saying no, and I'm tempted to agree at this point, honestly.
a tough call. There's a very good argument made either way there. I think it's still early enough in the seed that Rose is going to pay off in the end. Just she's got so much more HP than for him. Gets the big spells earlier.
I think it's kind of a gamble based off of something that might theoretically happen like 15 to 20 minutes from now, you know, when we've started hitting those deeper character checks, because we know we're going to have a very high completion rate on the seed anyways, because we've only seen one objective and we've got a lot left that we still need to get for those objectives. I guess we got like access to 4 out of 7 at this point. There's this situation where I feel like you're going to have a strong enough party that maybe you don't necessarily have to worry so much about that second Big Bang, but we'll see here.
Also, we found Sirens. One Siren gets Rosa right up to her formulas and honestly surpasses her already.
Yeah, it's definitely a fair point. I think that's one of those things where there's not necessarily a correct answer. It's going to depend on where the things lay out in the seed from here, and I'm going to be really interested to see what these two Sheila checks give on David's side.
And this will determine a lot of David's future routing. You could see Earth Crystal would be just immediately go there. Although, have we reached a point where our runners are pausing?
Yes, I believe this might be the point in time in which David is taking a pause so that Frankie can get back online. There will be a little bit of a gap before we get to that back on, so I want to take this time. Now it's a great time to give a shout out to, again, our runners, but also to some of the other things that we have as well going on at the moment. As the bot just posted in chat, there is the site for the tournament as well if you want to keep updated on what we have going on. Next week is the final week of groups, so we got very intense time coming up. And also, maybe check out the ladder too if you want to play a bit competitively. I hear that there's some people here in this particular restream who are quite good on the ladder. I'll give it a hint, it's not me.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Didn't you win Fu last season out of those flags?
Can neither confirm nor deny.
Well, either way, you know, join in the fun, as we are seeing that frankiebones did get back up. I believe had a PC crash, unfortunately, but did manage to keep the saves going here, so going to be going back again. Again, shoutouts to both of our runners for, you know, having the great amount of class in this and keeping the show going for us here. It'll be just a few minutes before we get back underway.
Right, so really what Eraser are doing is, you know, keeping us in anticipation of what Sheila 1 and 2 are.
I know it matters so much. I'm so interested in which one it will be. It's really exciting.
Oh, shout outs to both of our runners. Deciding to just keep the race going. I guess since it wasn't a hard crash, we decided not to. Our runners may have had the option to restart the race if it had been a more disastrous crash.
Definitely, and I just want to repeat, as our admin Skull Kitty is saying in chat, for the purposes of anyone who might be watching this on YouTube later who does not have access to the Twitch chat, if you're wondering why the timer was running the whole time, because the RaceBot timer was running this entire time and we want those times to line up, it is going to be still running while we're in this bit of a pause as we recover from frankiebones' crash here.
frankiebones showing us the key items picked up. There was a Luca key picked up on frankiebones' side. That may have been one of the Sheila turn-ins.
It might be. It's going to be a little bit...
It looks like a Luca key and a spoon that were added to frankiebones' list since we last saw it.
Shout out to frankiebones, by the way, for taking the time to go through these so that we can get caught back up on tracking as well.
Yeah.
You do see
and
the magma key.
And the Magnet Key, of course, because frankiebones is underground.
Yeah, definitely. We can intuit from that Frankie did not go down the Fey March before that happened, and we can get down the fact that he has gone through that Twin Heart, so probably has gone back up, check Sheila 1 at least. Well, Sheila 1 and 2,
well,
because it would have saved, yep. So that we know that one of those is going to be a Luca key, and they're actually pretty even at this point. David might just be up that Fey March check right now.
Right, we know Frankie has done Sheila 2 because the return to Pan objective was checked off.
That is indeed correct. And again, thank you again to both of our racers for helping us get right back underway, and we're heading right back to it.
It looks like we joined this egg grind currently in progress.
Well, that's interesting, because we were discussing whether or not to take a Rosa at this point. I think if you've taken these eggs over on Frankie's side, depending on how many eggs at that point in time, you're almost certainly not going to take that Rosa over that forum you already have underway.
And that solves the mystery. Luca key with Sheila 2.
Oh yeah, and also shout outs to everyone watching as well. Thank you for your patience as we get back underway, and thank you for joining us on this wonderful evening race we got going on for you here today.
Yes, we apologize for any and all technical issues that occur.
So, here is the question. Who goes back to that Fey March first? I guess Frankie hasn't gone down there. Does Frankie do the Fey March? And to answer a question from chat, the timers are accurate because the timers on RaceBot do not pause during that. We will obviously review this afterwards to make sure that everything lines up properly, but you can assume that the timers that we have on stream are accurate at the moment.
Frankie may find those out, or might decide Seal Cave's an objective, I'm going to go do my objectives.
You know, that's definitely valid. I would agree with that play. There's no guarantee that Fey March is going to be required, and you might as well go down and at least see what you're up against. I think once Frankie gets down to the bottom of the Fey March, he's going to take those 2 free fights, and that might be a huge tipping point here. David, in this Lamia fight here, where did he end up going for that at this point?
David went back to Evelyn Castle.
Oh, yeah, right, looting more.
These Lamias can be dangerous if you're not able to one-shot them. They do hit hard. Or it's not they hit hard, they charm. Then you charm your ninja, and your ninja hits hard.
I did not see what dropped out of that chest.
It was a defense sword.
Did someone say more things for a Kane we don't have yet?
Oh, with all this stuff we found for Kane, we know he's gonna be vanilla.
Yeah, giant Kane that we're never gonna see, or possibly like packaged Kane that no one bothers to check, because I'm not even sure that you check package at this point unless you're looking for exactly a Cecil. So I don't know. It's hard to say if we'll ever get use out of that defense sword here, or that white spear, or that anything else that we've gotten for Kane at this point.
So taking a quick peek through frankiebones' inventory, it looks like he did not loot out the trap chest in Evelyn Castle. I didn't see a defense sword or crystal sword in there.
Yeah, definitely. I think that crystal sword is the one that really matters here, because defense sword and white spear are arguably which one is the better weapon there. I think defense sword is technically better in most situations, and then white spear has better in other situations. But that defense sword is not going to make a difference in the end, even if we find a Kane, I feel. So just that crystal sword is the real big question. Do we find that Cecil?
Oh, that is Mylon and friends in the Steel Cave. You want to see some painful lit ones? We're about to see some painful lit ones.
Yeah, this is a good example of one of those things I like to note about this randomizer, that if you run across a physical boss that only casts like a location for a physical boss that only casts status effect, like that evil wall who only punches and casts petrify, and then you put a boss with magic there, you're going to be very hurt the second they actually cast a spell. And we're about to see that in action here.
Yeah, bosses like Leviathan, Naga Sisters can wreak some havoc at this spot. The idea is in vanilla, the devs want to make sure Evil Wall's Petrify hit.
Yeah, the accuracy of status effect spells is based on that magic power, so you get here and you hit that magic power and you're like, oop, that's not fun. Oh, so the counters are only hitting for 220 at least, so that's nice.
Porum might disagree with that.
Well, if it wasn't picking on her exactly, as it does actually hit Yong for 420 there, which we're not going to say anything more about. Porum does go down from that particular hit there, and yeah, this is not the easiest Mylon and Friends fight I've seen.
The only thing we'll mention is, yeah, he has no magic defense. His idea of magic defense is face tanking them with his HP pool. And we see Edge is also gone to that school of magic defense.
Alright, so if the dupe in this seed is a Cecil, and David finds both of them, he is incredibly well set. But I don't think that those Evelyn trap chests have paid off as well as we might have hoped in that case.
No, but with all the weaponry in hand, I think David's going to prioritize character checks here.
Oh, I would 100% agree. It looks like he's going to go ahead and camp right outside Dwarf Castle here. Frankie is through that Mylon and Friends fight on his way out of the sealed cave. I gotta expect he's gonna go to that free chest down in the Fey March, and probably those free bosses in the Fey March once he gets down there.
Oh, we did see him pick up the tower key. There's a chance he decides, Fable's looking good this time of year.
I think it depends on what your thought process is a little bit. If your thought process is, I went to the sealed cave a bit early, I need to keep chasing this in order to see, you know, if I can gain an advantage off the fact that I went to it early, then probably goes to the tower, but just looking for key items, probably going to head down that Fey March. It's really hard to say, or could be looking for characters, go for that Dwarf Castle. All three feel like really good options right now.
I think with what frankiebones has found, he's not quite as incentivized to do character checks.
I would definitely tend to agree. Really would only be looking for a Kane, whereas David is kind of looking for Kane or Cecil. And then obviously Fu is Fu. You're always going to like seeing a Fu on either side, but at this point in time, the map doesn't say one character check is that great right now. David finding the D-Lunars here at this first spot, that's not going too great at the moment, unfortunately.
Now, this spot could do some damage if you don't have good Dragon Slaying gear and that Power Punch. Okay.
You know, there are good ways around these D-Lunars. It's going to dart the spoon, which is, or not the spoon, dart something else it hits. I guess has ninja stars, so very, very good use of those edge weapons here to get through these fights. Still has to take down the other D-Lunar before Edge runs out of HP, but my concern is, yeah, gonna take the reset. What happens when you get through that fight and have to deal with the second one afterwards?
Right, we haven't seen Leviathan or Ogopogo yet.
We did see Ogopogo in the Baronet.
Oh, you're right, we did see Ogopogo. We haven't seen Leviathan yet, and leaving someone at a quarter HP when Leviathan's out there could be a bit dicey.
Alright, so we're about to see what's going to happen on Frankie's side when he sees these two Fey March bosses. Does he go for it? He's heading straight in to see what kind of guards these are.
Yeah, Frankie's got much more levels coming down here. And one hourglass just completely shuts this fight down.
You know, one hourglass shuts this fight down, and in addition to that, this spot is not too bad on experience. You life glitch that officer after knocking it over. you're gonna be really well set at that point in time. So this could be a pretty big swing once he gets through it.
Right then. In the case of this fight, the hourglass, normally enemies, when they're stopped, any actions they may have had queued will still fire. But the only action that was queued was the officer's go, but the soldier is stopped, so they can't respond to it by actually going. And cursed Tella landing the stone. You love to see it.
Here's a question from chat that I don't remember the answer to. Does Crystal Ring give dragon defense here? Ooh, that's Adamant armor.
Yeah, Crystal Ring does give dragon defense, so... However, dragon defense doesn't do anything about the fire attacks from D-Lunars.
Yeah, those fire attacks are indeed percentage-based, so those will just do the same amount of damage no matter what you have on, including the Adamant armor over on frankiebones' side, which, yeah, Adamant armor, pretty good pickup here. Gonna be through these dolls probably fairly easily now.
Yeah, they do punch hard, however, they don't punch through a back road Adamant armor.
Yeah, and especially with that, you know, free hourglass sort of having the amount of damage that these dolls are able to put out at this point in time, you only need to get through those 3 in the front, and then the other ones don't matter at all. That is a pretty free fight. David taking another wipe there, gonna go ahead, go over and just pop some sirens. And you know, I like this. If you're having problems with something, you just find your way around it.
Yeah. One answer to most problems in Free Enterprise, throw some levels at it.
The levels don't work, throw some gear at it, but David is running out of places to check for gear, so this is gonna be the default option here.
And we see the dolls just can't do anything while stopped. So with this party, what David could have done... Find Cure 3s.
Yeah, there's some ways around it, but I'm not sure that any of those are particularly quick and efficient, and that's kind of the rub there is, you know, how long do you spend looking for those Cure 3s that you could have spent either doing something else or popping some eggs to make the whole thing work.
That's true.
I think this is probably the better play of the two. Frankie is through that dolls fight, though.
Hey, if you had a cane, that would make D-Lunars a lot easier.
Well, the good news is, if you are over on David's side, once he comes back down to this Feymark, she will have hit the full bingo of every single good cane weapon, except for an Avenger. So that is quite helpful if we find that cane, but not something that is going to help us in the short term again. And there's just been a real lack outside of that Adamant armor that Frankie spiked of things that help us now. And that's a little bit of a rough time.
And as we've seen quite a few times in this flag set already, getting an early Adamant armor like that can, or getting an Adamant armor where your opponent doesn't have one can just swing a race.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that too, you know, there's some other things that can flip that race too that we just haven't seen as well. You know, I've seen a lot of races in this tournament actually won by mute knives early on and just finding mage bosses to use them against. But we haven't found even any of those sort of like fringe case ones. Frankie did drop a save outside the tower, went out to check the Sand Ruby, did not want the Rosa. So, hey, back here in this spot here.
Right. Ends up play realizing just drop a save scum, or drop a save here, go up, check, save scum the character. Not someone I'm interested in.
Exactly, saves that flight back down. I'll be interested in seeing what way he takes through this tower. I think probably going to do the top of tower first, but both are pretty much equally valid because you're gonna want both of these key item checks. We're still looking for that Legend Sword, still looking for that Adamant Rock. Both of those are terminal key items that don't lead to any other ones, so you're definitely gonna need 2 checks no matter what.
That is entirely correct. But we see David taking another swing at these D-Lunars having a little bit more levels. Will increase damage with these darts as well. Not quite enough to one-hit kill a D-Lunar.
Yeah, this party is uniquely suited to wanting a lot of levels too, even beyond that. You know, Porum needs extra levels in order to get HP competitive with Rosa. Dart scales off of levels, Yang scales uniquely off of levels. This is a party where you might actually genuinely be able to work around most problems with just throwing levels at it too.
The one thing to take note here, the D-Lunars are undead, so throwing any sort of healing at them will also damage them.
Yeah, I think he has it this time. The fires coming out shouldn't be enough to even knock down that form, but that punch afterwards might, as long as we can just get that last bit of health out. Yep, through. We'll see who the second boss is. Meanwhile, over on Frankie's side, we've got Leg.
This seed is not skipping leg day. Much as we all hate it, you don't skip it. And that's the line I was talking about.
Look, this seed's got some jokes, but speaking of things that might help equalize a little bit off of that adamant armor, it's not an entire adamant armor worth of value, but a foo that can possibly cast it. No, not taking the foo.
David not taking the foo. That's an interesting choice. Especially knowing your party's injured and you're about to lose 25% of your max health immediately.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to find out about that later. Maybe thinking, you know what, I've already got this Tella in the spot with Anchor. I'm not going to worry about that foo for later on. Did pick up a curse ring in Agart, so has a way of dealing with that agility no matter what. We'll find out later, but is going to have to reset out of this Leviathan as well.
It's not even about who the character is. Your party's injured. That's a fresh set of legs.
Well, speaking of a fresh set of legs, Frankie is through that Rubicant fight at the top of the tower and only rewarded with a package for it. So not quite what he's looking for, but another chance at Kane or Cecil at that point.
Val in the Super Cannon Room. You'll love to see that as a runner. She can show up at much ruder locations.
Well, she's still gonna get a week off. This is a parting gift for that young, and Porum not able to do enough damage to knock out the Super Cannon Room Val. A bit unfortunate there. Just kind of showing how little we've gotten for that Porum at this point in time, that this is probably, like, I don't want to say the lowest HP spot in the boss pool, but if it's not, it's very close. So
I believe Baronin 1 is the lowest, coming in at 400.
Yeah,
the Super Cannon Room is 600.
Yeah, possibly package is quite low as well.
Yeah, who does a package fight?
Well, depending on what Frankie finds, if he decides to go up and check it, we might actually see that package fight tonight, so we'll find out. David has decided to bail out of Dwarf Castle, deciding that foo is not worth it to him in this case. Gonna just head on down, see what he can get through here. Gonna get that tower key as a reward. And over on Frankie's side, we're about to see what that tower key will get him aside from this objective here.
Yeah, this is... I definitely think Frankie's going to check that character. This party could use a bit more help. Most parties can eventually take out Z, regardless of... You just may need a little bit more levels or gear, depending on which characters you get.
That's another character check and another gated shop. That's not bad. It's not good, but it's not bad.
And it's an important gated shop. So, under the S standard flag, the Cave Emblem shop is guaranteed to have 2 tier 5 items in it. And as Chad is also pointing out, that's 10th key item, which I guess is a thing.
Yeah, definitely. If he wants to head up to the moon, which he might be tempted to once he gets this foo out of this dwarf castle check, he could possibly head up there and just start taking out those other objectives he has, that Mirasame Altar and Crystal Sword Altar. You know, if you're going to take a top-down moon play, now is the seed for it. You might as well, and I think he could probably get through it with that food in his party.
Frankiebones just gonna try to go power overwhelming on these D-Lunars before the viruses can do their thing.
Yeah, D-Lunars are one of those fights where I feel like we look at Sparkle bosses and we say Ogopogo and Wyvern are kind of the big ticket, big name ones a little bit. D-Lunars can be very rough if they land in the wrong location. Frankie is powerful enough for it, and we'll see what the difference is there a little bit. There are other ways around it. We could have thrown up a Star Veil or Moon Veil at the right time, which causes them to cast Breath on themselves and basically makes it a free fight, but you have to survive to that point anyways. So it's one of those ones where it can be a very rough fight if you get it at the wrong spot.
And we see there the Adamant armor saving Edge. That the fire attack does 20% max HP normally, 10% if you have fire resist.
Well, it looks like Frankie is actually going to ditch the Porum and not the Tella on his side, so going to do that in order to get the food in his party.
May have also been thinking, I don't know what HP that Porum was at, but Porum may also be likely to fall to the first for the opening wave.
It's definitely a possibility. If he chooses to, can head straight back into the overworld, drop off at Mysidia real quick if he wants to go back upstairs and upstairs to the moon stairs. Can pick up that Porum, just slot her right back in the party and go from there.
Also, we saw how weak the magic is at Golbez's spot. Edge dodged that wave.
I didn't know that was possible. I mean, I guess it makes sense with the mechanics of this game that it should be possible. I just didn't know it would ever happen.
It can only happen at extremely low spell power spots, like Golbez.
When you have an adamant armor to help make that get past too. Finding an earth crystal for it, that's interesting as a possible option here.
So we found 1, 2, 3, 4 more gated character checks in the underground.
Well, that's an interesting question that I want to pose to you here. You're in Frankie's position here. You have a party right now of Fu, Yang, Edge, and Tella. You have 2 character checks available or 4 character checks available to you. How interested are you in going fishing for a better party right now?
In Frankie's shoes, less interested. I don't know if I would dive the hook route for one. Or the package. Earth Crystal would still be tempting because it's still a K main check. We do see David getting through the Mylon and Friends. The zombie dance party is now ended on both sides.
Yeah, I want to give a bit of a shout out to David's thought processes here that he's been going through. You know, having trouble at that Dwarf Castle spot, just thinking, you know what? I don't need to do this right now. I can go and try that sealed cave, get through it. I think it's one of those things that we don't talk about as much as we possibly should, that if you ever have trouble with something, you can just leave, just hit the bricks, just go somewhere else and get around it. And that's definitely worked out for him. Maybe he goes back to Dwarf Castle now and gets through that fight easier.
And sometimes a fight is just long or something you can't necessarily handle with the power you've got. That fight will still be waiting for you. Come back later.
Definitely. And Frankie over here in these Evelyn shots that we were talking about, only really finding coffins. And I think coffins aren't as great of a prize as they were earlier in that seed, because we've already seen a lot of the free bosses that can really make use of coffins. Well, we've seen one of them at least. We're still looking for a couple of them, but we have lost the one that I always think of as the, if you have a coffin, this is the absolute best fight that you could possibly find at any location boss out of the way.
Yeah, I said it was guaranteed tier 5. I didn't say it was guaranteed the right tier 5.
That is true. It looks like David is not tempted to head back to that Dwarf Castle. It is a bit of a painful setup, if you just don't have the party for it, is going to head up this tower next here.
And this makes sense. He found the tower key, can easily take out both spots in one trip, and might go hunting for some trap chests, try to find a little more power.
Yeah, I think this is definitely the right play on David's side for where he is in the seed and where he's at right now, you know, in general. If you're looking for power, you might as well go where there's 4 trap chests, all of which could spike you in adamant armor. They could spike you, say, a good sword for that edge. It's a bit less likely here in Lower Babel than it is in some of those other trap chest locations, but it's not necessarily bad. Although, you know, an apple might help a bit too here.
I believe the tier 8 chance around here is, in this place, is 10%?
Yeah, 4 shots at 10% is not the worst odds in the world. They're not great odds by any means, but they're pretty good-ish odds. They're good adjacent, I would say. So we'll see if we can get through that. And Frankie is just going to do this top-down moon play now.
It makes sense to go top down. Murasame is an objective. I guess Frankie might be thinking, I've got an admin armor, I can go blow up the moon right now. Let's go get these objectives.
Definitely. And there's some combinations where it's going to be very, very interesting to see what Frankie does. Because I feel like whenever you go to the moon, start diving it with a pass in hand, you should probably clear the whole moon. But when you only have those 2 moon altars that are near the top, you have the Baron Castle basement throne. If you find, say, a Baron key and half of forward from it, do you drop a save and maybe go down and check Baron, or do you just keep going through the moon at that point? And an Excalibur from that chest on David's side, not going to be what he was looking for here.
No,
but it is a nice start.
David's probably saying some thoughts along the lines of wrong tier 8.
You know, a good dart is a good dart, and that can't be discounted. You know, of the 2, honestly, that Excalibur is going to be doing a lot more than the Crystal Sword he's found. And that could get him through, let's say he wants to go back to those D-Lunars at some point in time where he's having a rough time. It was looking like he was going to do dart strats to get through it. Now you have not only that White Spear, but also an Excalibur to hurl into their faces and hopefully knock them over very quickly. But Frankie has found Mom Bomb, who is not going to get to explode today.
That's what's nice about Mom Bomb at some of the higher HP spots. You can probably have enough power to simply ignore the explode script.
Definitely. Finding the rat tail here, I think with a rat tail, you're pretty committed to just doing the rest of the moon at this point.
Yeah, I don't think that's enough to leave. Also, do you really want to walk down a second time once you've cleared the Crystal Sword altar?
Not really, no. There's some logic to you're going to have to walk back a good ways already, so you might as well just do the whole thing if you think it could pay off as a gamble, but I just don't think this is the seed for it. We really needed to see, like, one of Forge and a Baron Key exactly in those 2 spots for it to even be on the table, and even then it's not necessarily a good play as much as a play you might be tempted to make if you're willing to gamble a bit.
I agree with that completely. So, a Baron Key alone, I don't think is worth the gamble, because you'd have to hit exactly Legend and Adamant off of the 2 Baron spots.
Yeah, the only other thing about it, though, at this point in time, you know, you've only got 2 terminal key items, well, 3 terminal key items left on the board. If you find a Baron Key, you have every rabbit hole available to you left. So, you know, this seed is leading you to want to leave the moon, but you don't necessarily want to at this point. It's like, look at all these cool things that are not on the moon, and then, but the cool things could still be on the moon.
We see David dealing with his version of Leg Day. This one, the magic power, the Fire 2 counters are not overly dangerous. The magic power, top tower, with 2 rolls, 3 rolls at most. The punches from Rubicon are more dangerous.
That is kind of the thing about the top of tower, isn't it? Is that I always despise doing this check a little bit because it's got so much HP, but it doesn't really do much of anything with that HP. So you're stuck here for a while. It's a time sink check. It's a DPS race check. We'll see how quickly you can get through it.
It's a damage sponge, and no one likes damage sponges.
Well, this would be a free boss if we'd have found that Cecil anywhere, but it is not. It is just Yang here at this Crystal Sword altar. It's not a difficult boss, the spot not too threatening in general, but it is one of those ones where it could be free if it lined up right.
And to show how non-threatening magic is this spot, Yang just face tanked the glare.
Fascinating. I thought Glare would still be enough to kill here, but apparently not. David threw that fight very, very convincingly at this point, so definitely things starting to turn around a little bit on his side. We'll see if he can start catching up some of this time. He's a little bit behind right now.
Yeah, looks like David's finally is catching some momentum from these bosses. Is this walking away from the dwarf rabbit hole?
Yeah, I don't... What was behind that dwarf? That was the hook. That could be a problem later, but can always drop that for it. That was not the hook. That was not anything worthwhile as a weapon.
It was either hook or earth crystal behind dwarf.
Earth crystal, right. He wants that earth crystal at this point, I think, is the problem. That might be a way he gets back in if he takes some risks. Although adamant from that crystal sword altar, that's kind of lessening some of the chances that David might have to get some of that time back should he decide to say Earthbound instead of heading up to the moon.
Oh, okay, that's why David turned around. He forgot I have a second boss to fight here.
You know, it's not a real boss in a way because its HP is so low, and I have done that myself many times. I'll just sort of on the autopilot of, all right, I got through that fight, where's next? And so I can't really fault that because that's an easy mistake to make at times. You just forget that room is important.
Where's next as you're in Tower 4-3? Oh, right.
It's up there with its cousin. Did I do Tower on the way up? I was in that Luge spot fight for so long, I don't remember anymore. Ribbon Room, Magus Sisters. Not great, but not bad either.
Do we have a mute knife?
No. I think at this point, between our two runners, we have found every other weapon in the game except for a mute knife.
Checks out.
So just gonna Berserk up and get through this. This is kind of one of those uniquely annoying for this party fights, I feel. That wall gonna land on Yang. I think the Berserk was about to go out on Yang, and that's not going to land now, so that's gonna take out a little bit of the damage. You can't really do any targeting if you're Berserk, so knocking down who you might want to knock down first, either Cindy to get through the fight, or Mindy if you're scared of the reflect counters, or the reflected magic here, not gonna happen, so this is a little bit of a not great for this party setup fight as well.
And the magic here is just strong enough to be dangerous.
Yeah, hitting for 9-10 on that food, that's a pretty not great thing. But the Quake's gonna start to come out with that food now. We'll start to see the real value that we got going on there. David getting that hook, going to go ahead and raise the hovercraft, does not have anything to turn in yet, but I think he's going to be a bit more tempted where he's at right now to go check that Evelyn character.
Agreed. David's got those crystal swords burning a hole in his pocket still.
That's an interesting question from there too. Does he check package if he is really, really invested in getting a Cecil? I think if he was going to, he might have considered checking on the way up here, but it is still an option if this Evelyn check does not pay off here.
I could see sitting through. I can see sitting through a package for a Cecil yet. Personally, I think it's a little late to sit through a package. That's just because I don't like super long cutscenes in general.
Say Frankie here in that little bit of a danger zone where you're in danger of doing an accidental Maggot Sisters grind with Cindy the only one alive, but gets through it and is rewarded with a Legend Sword. That is going to be what is required for that Forge objective. Only a Baron key away from go mode at this point.
So Frankie gonna just, I think we just see Frankie keep clearing the bottom of the moon.
I mean, you're 2 altars away at this point in time. You only got the White Spear altar and the Masamune altar, and there's never been anything horrible at the Masamune altar before, so they might as well go for it. There's an Asura here at this White Spear altar. That's fine.
Hey, speaking of things, you know what boss we haven't seen yet?
Golbez, Alt Gauntlet.
I don't think we've seen Alt Gauntlet yet.
What else could be there that could be quite awful at this point in time for our runners? I don't want to say this like I want to see something awful there. Also, I did not know that trap chest in Evelyn Cave could be inside the hospital pot, but apparently it can be, and I've learned something today.
Super fun when playing with K-Trap and it decides to go in there. And then you clear out every chest in the cave and you're like, what did I miss?
Why does this hospital have a pot with 2 stale men in it in the corner? We may never know. That's an Edward. I don't think we sit through waiting to see this cutscene for an Edward here.
And while Spoonword's fun and all, Spoonword's fun, he needs levels and gear, aside from the spoon.
You would need to invest an adamant armor that David does not have yet into that Spoonword in order for that Spoonword to be a real big pickup in this case. But we won't know yet to see what's going. There's a Moon Veil out of that, and it looks like we might actually see Spoonword because that Yang is hitting the road here.
Interesting play. David says, I want the extra firepower from Spoonword.
You know, it's one of those things where if you're worried about the damage output, that Spoonword might be doing a lot more damage than that Yang is at the moment, as long as you can keep him alive. The as long as you can keep him alive part is a bit of a large elephant in the room at the moment, but it isn't entirely true. Hey, there's Golbez at the Masamune altar, by the way.
That is not rude at all.
It's something that, you know, it's free or free adjacent, but it's just annoying.
As long as you have a single Star Veil, this fight is free. You're going to see this Golbez blast himself for about 7,000 with 3.
Even then, I think the Adamant Armor might be enough to get through as well, too. We'll see if this knocks over 1 or 2. There's a Cecil on this package here on David's side, though.
The Adamant Armor makes you immune to both the Hold Gas and the Demolish.
Well, Golbez, the Shadow Dragon there, deciding that not a fan of Fu and Tala today, so that is going to be a little bit annoying because that would have been a pretty good couple characters to have up, but through at this point, and there's the viruses reflecting off of that Star Veil on Edge. This is still not going to be that hard to do.
No, that virus reflected for 4,700. Goodbye, Yang, we barely do you. That is a quad times.
Well, this one thing you can say about this spot is it does make Golbez's spells as threatening as the lore would make you believe, and that is always admirable to see. The question is, how much is this Crystal Sword Cecil that David is about to have going to speed up his clear through? Does he stay on Earth and find a Baron key in order to blossom this time back? He's still, unfortunately, a good ways behind at this point, but there are ways he can start regaining some of that time as long as they land correctly.
And just a Stardust for frankiebones trouble. So we know. So now we know the Baron Key is either at cave value or behind that Earth Crystal.
It can't be behind cave value. Frankie did cave value way back when, if I'm remembering right. Wasn't cave value?
Oh, you're right.
Bahamut?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It was Vanilla Bahamut. So Frankie knows exactly where it is.
Well, there's still a 50-50 shot. It could either be Earth Crystal or Rat Tail. So we'll see which one he goes for first. I would imagine Rat Tail, but if it is Earth Crystal puts you right at Baron Key, so that's going to be a nice little bit of routing there. Do you turn in that Excalibur first, knowing that you don't have to go back underground at any point?
Oh, right. Forge is an objective. Really doesn't matter one way or another. You gotta make one trip down, one trip up, regardless of when you do it. And Spoonward was in the party for all of about 4 minutes on David's side.
It is one of those situations where it's like, oh, I got a Spoonward. Oh, there's something shinier, unfortunately, because Crystal Sword is just very good. But you might as well pick up that Cecil when you got all the parts for him. We'll see where David's heading from here. I gotta think probably to pop a Siren or two and get some of these levels back right now.
Agreed. And more importantly, the Crystal Sword's not stapled to Edward's 60 HP.
It's instead stapled to Cecil's 600 HP, which will get fixed within like 1 to 2 fights at this point in time, so definitely good. Also has that Dwarf Axe to get Cecil back road pretty easily. Has a black belt and a Zeus Gauntlet or a Crystal Ring, depending on which one he wants to put on. It is the Crystal Ring here. So yeah, pretty good overall. Meanwhile, Frankie finishing that second objective here, just needs to find that Baron Key now.
We are going to see this Cecil. One fight should be enough. First attempt, the Rat Tail. Check your freebies first. Rather not sit through a cutscene and 2 bosses if you don't have to.
Yeah, might as well. And if this is the Baron Key, it's not too far of a flight. If it's the Earth Crystal, it's the Baron Key, and it is the Rat Tail. So there is that last objective on the table. frankiebones in go mode now at 1 hour 35 minutes in, and a bit of a rough seed where we did unfortunately have that little bit of time lost to a crash, but definitely doing good to recover from that.
Yeah, did a fantastic job recovering from technical issues.
Definitely. I know it was a Sparkle as his first spot, which means I think it has to be Plague, because I think we've seen Paladin.
Yeah, we've seen Paladin, we've seen Wyvern. We've seen Wyvern a few times. We saw Ogopoga and we saw Paladin. The D-Lunars were at Dwarf, so yeah, that's the other 4.
Yep. Definitely just a bit of a run back at this point. Plague, the least threatening of the Sparkles, no matter what, only really sits there and counts. You just gotta do enough damage to get him down. Even then, it's one of those things where if you jam up the queue enough, everyone is too busy to die and just keeps swinging anyways, and then nothing really happens. So, just needs to get through that fight, get through the Odin spot, and then run back out and can head straight to Troya, straight down that pass, and straight to the Zeromus fight.
Now, some of those high rate plague spots, I just picture it as your Berserkers being simply too angry to die. Now, we're not going to see any of those strategies here. We are simply going to put the floating. Never mind.
Basically, really, that plague spot is like when you're stuck in traffic and wish you could just like drive over the cars in front of you, and the Berserkers actually just do drive over the cars in front of them. That's a really good way of looking at it.
That's a great analogy. And I've never had those dreams driving around.
David heading back down into this pretty free Fey March. Gonna pick up the XP from those 2 spots. Gonna pick up the adamant armor out of that Baron guards or Kaipo guard spot. So we'll get him rolling pretty well here once he gets through these 2 slots here, and should be able to cruise through most of the rest of the seed with Adamant Sword, Crystal Sword, or Adamant Armor, Crystal Sword, Cecil.
Yeah, you're going to start seeing some silly numbers coming from that side. And the Odin Throne is as free as it gets.
Yeah, just King and Queen Evelyn down here at the basement. Just gotta knock down the king, and then the queen immediately just leaves afterwards, due to the whole way the fight is scripted, because, you know, in vanilla, she would just say her piece and then leave after the king is gone. That's just how that ends up functioning. So not a very difficult final boss fight here. The question I have is, what is Frankie's Z fight going to actually look like once it gets rolling? Because there's some ways it could go quite wrong if it lands just in the wrong way.
I mean, I think we have the levels in gear to... Hey, that's a rebuy on your dart, too. I think there's the levels in gear are there to just circ up edge and yang, let him go.
I think the only thing he really has to worry about at this point is either, you know, hitting a second Big Bang unnerfed with a high roll on that Fu, or combo platter, or some combination thereof. So,
that's very true.
Crystal in hand, though, for frankiebones, gonna be on his way back out of this castle, and what a long walk it is, and also a bit disorienting because you do not go backwards through this cavern very often.
It is faster in pretty much all circumstances to walk out rather than take the fight. Because of the cutscene afterwards. As long as you are familiar with the path to leave, it's going to be it's faster to walk.
Yeah, and there's no real benefit to sitting through that cutscene either. Like, maybe if you were like, alright, this is a buy flag set where I can't go pick up another one and I want a new anchor, I maybe sit through this here, but that's just not a situation I can ever foresee happening in this particular set of flags.
And we see the power of Adamant Crystal Sword already doing its thing on David's side.
Yeah, definitely. This is one of those things where David did have a rough mid-game, but stuck through it, and now it's all downhill from here. He's gotten past the mountain, just needs to coast through the rest of it, and definitely a very, very good show of him sort of thinking his way around the problems he was having.
Yes, a good job sticking through this. A good lesson to learn from this seed. If you're having trouble with this spot, just maybe there's something freer somewhere else.
Absolutely, and if it doesn't work out, you know, then you kind of worry a little bit, but the time that you spend flying around looking for things is always going to be less than just grinding your head against something if you don't think you can get through it. And definitely, you know, good heads up play there, but it's almost Aromas o'clock here.
Okay, David avoiding the big doll. I was actually kind of worried about that.
I was very worried about that, but threw it quite easily. Frankie just in his last second setup here. There's a Z flag sitting in chat. There's more Z flags sitting in chat. There's a obligated skit that we have to do here.
Oh, I misplaced my script. I think it got lost in the whole technical issue shuffle.
Unfortunately, that happens from time to time, but thankfully I haven't memorized at this point. We have over 550 different Zeromas sprites in the pool because we cannot move around Zeromas. He is way too mean to put anywhere else. He's way too iconic to put anywhere else. I mean, this seed wouldn't be fun if the real final boss was King and Queen Evelyn in the void at the end of the world. So we're going to go ahead and see the most important question that we have going on here. And how would you like to ask that one today, NG Dave?
That question is, whose butt are we going to kick tonight? And, you know, ancillary questions like, does he even have a butt? How is it no one ever just asks me, how are you tonight?
Exactly. There's many different questions. Like, even like where's butt is a good question, because I still to this day do not understand what this arena is supposed to be. But we are going to be getting to what that spread is here. Hopefully it is not technical issues once again. But it would at least confirm whether or not it's in the pool if that is the case.
And it appears like, okay, it is Bobamus.
I love this one. I didn't know it was in the pool. Oh, this is amazing. Look at the little guy. He's just this little birthday boy everyone likes.
And Baba is in fact boss.
This is, of course, from the excellent game Baba Is You, by the way. I highly recommend playing through that if you have the choice, haven't had the chance yet. Or, watch a playthrough of it. It's a very interesting and increasingly surreal as it goes on time.
And we saw the opening Big Bang on frankiebones sign was not nerfed. That did way more than 1200 to everyone.
This Zeromus feels awfully fast right now for Battle Speed 2 Zeromus.
I think the cursor ring's on Tellus, so everyone should be RA1, or should be as fast as they can get. The edge is darting, so we don't have multiple Zerkers clogging. I think that's what's making it seem faster.
Possibly. I also think we didn't find Silk Webs in this seed, now I'm thinking about it, to slow that Zeromus down and nerf that first Big Bang, and Fu is having a hard time keeping up on the heals right now.
And second Big Bang coming out, also not nerfed.
Yep, Fearful going to come out on Fu at this point in time. Meanwhile, David has gotten through those two Feymarch bosses, going to head back above ground, has also gotten his revenge on that dwarf castle, and it looks like he's heading to the moon.
It always feels good to get a little more powerful, take it out on the bosses that gave you trouble. I would be concerned about MPH on frankiebones side, but we started with multiple elixirs. I don't think I've seen one fly yet.
Definitely not. I will say that text on the shape made me think that the boss had actually finished at some point in time while I wasn't paying attention. But
no.
It's definitely still very much in the throes of the fight. That is another Big Bang. We'll see how that roll goes on Fu, because that's looking a little bit spicy. Good. Only a 1600 there.
It's Flash's win, not Shaker's win.
It is, but Frankie does have flash effects off over on his side, so we will not see the flash at this point in time.
That works.
Black hole coming out over there, and this is looking fine, but it's still making me nervous how long it's taken to be able to get that get those heals out to keep that party up right now.
Yeah, I would be nervous about the next Big Bang coming out. I think the next one's a 9 roll. Or nervous about that.
That is the worst possible situation for Frankie, unfortunately. Needs to recover from that nuke onto Fu. Needs to get this elixir and life pot off before that Big Bang lands. Does manage to do it, manages to recover at this point in time. And it looks like he's going to cast a Berserk. I would be honestly tempted to sit on that Fu's turn with that Big Bang coming up pretty soon.
We haven't seen the shake yet. Frankie might be thinking, I'm going to push the Meteor phase where things get a bit safer.
Definitely. I'm a bit concerned about whether or not he has the damage to get to the Meteor phase before another Big Bang goes off at this point. Those two Berserkers are not really hitting that hard right now, relatively speaking. Still in the sort of sub-2000 range here.
And this Big Bang could very easily take out Fu and Edge. Okay, low roll. Yeah, low rolls both of them.
Definitely. And meanwhile, we're really seeing that power of that Crystal Sword over on David's side and getting through that First alter. Oh, there's rocks. That's a bad time. Fu goes down. Young at 210. Edge at 382.
Yeah, hopefully Edge or Young's next swing finishes off before the next Meteor can come out, and there's the crack, boom, and the shake.
That was not an easy Zeromas fight.
Look, frankiebones had 500 more HP than he needed. It's fine.
Exactly. It's a very good example of the only HP you need on any given character is the last one. Just enough to get through, and looks like take the win. Obviously, we will have that bit of a review afterwards just to make sure everything went fine with the whole technical issues, but the sort of winner that we can say on stream right now is frankiebones. So GG to him. We'll see if he wants to come in for an interview. And I believe that is actually the sound of frankiebones joining us for an interview. GG's on your race tonight.
Thank you. GG's to David.
GG's. So we did miss a little bit of it, but how are you feeling about this party at the start?
Not great at all. That was that was a challenge to get going there. The loot wasn't great. The party wasn't great. Doing everything we could with Yang the entire time, so it was definitely a challenge.
Definitely. I want to sort of go a bit forward here and ask you how you felt when you were starting to take on those moon bosses at that point in time, because it looked like you were in pretty solid shape once you got up there. Was there anything up there that you were concerned could really sort of throw you off and possibly cause you problems at that point?
I knew there was still some. I had seen a lot of moon bosses, so I was happy about that. Honestly, I didn't have a lot of good gear, so really what I was hoping for was the freebies. You know, Yang was doing some good output. Edge was, you know, he had the adamant armor, but he still had a boomerang. The thought crossed my mind to go back and get that Masamune from the Cave Bahamut that I peaked at the very beginning and reset out of, but which in hindsight I probably should have done. That would have made it a little bit easier, a little bit faster too. Especially the Z. The Z just, I don't even know how I got through that. That was such a mess.
You definitely proved that you only really need that last HP on every character for that Z fight. That was definitely a very well-executed fight for how rough it could have gone in some of those places. You know, you took that nuke on Fu, got him back up right away, and I think really you sort of showed how much good execution can get you through that fight if it starts going a bit rough like that.
Yeah, I don't know what... I need to go back and look. Obviously, I had some technical difficulties tonight, so I'm all over the map with this seed today. But I you know, if Tello was at agility 0 or so, I felt like Z was going really fast. So I need to go back and take a look at it because it was quite an adventure for that fight. That's for sure.
It may have felt like your Z fight was faster because you only had one Zerker going. Normally, you see Zerker fights going with 2 or 3.
Yeah, and I was trying to get the dart off, and then I thought I could get the flow in, and it kind of spiraled from there. I really think, you know, there was 2 things in that fight that saved me: the darts that I had were huge, and obviously the Meteor dodge by Ed was huge as well. So thank you, Adamant Armor, for that.
Definitely. One thing I want to ask sort of with your party composition, you know, you got a lot of gear for a cane early on and like that. Were you ever tempted once you got back into that overworld, you had a package in hand, you had things like that. Were you ever tempted to sort of fish for a different character given how sort of under-geared your Edge was at that point?
Yeah, Earth Crystal definitely. I didn't think I was gonna I didn't really have. I didn't really want to check the package because I didn't think I wanted to wait on those cutscenes. I guess if it was a Cecil, I probably would have done it, but I just felt like going at that point, to be honest. In Earth, I didn't want to sit through those cutscenes, and it just seemed like I had seen so many non-key items on Earth that I felt like the value was on the moon. I had levels, I definitely needed better equipment, but I thought the moon was not, you know, if it wasn't the worst boss possible up there. I think seeing a lot of moon bosses early helped me make that decision, because I figured it could be somewhere in the middle ground of evil, you know, and slow, etc. I knew I had the levels, I just needed the gear. So I made the decision to just roll with it and go.
And that decision worked out. The moon honestly wasn't the rudest we've seen.
Yeah, it turned out to be pretty mild, so that was definitely nice.
So with that win, you move to 2-2 in your group. You still got another 2 matches left to go. Still got a pretty good chance at making it, if not into those playoffs, into the bracket round. So definitely, I think at this point, really, what is sort of your mentality going into this last week of matches that we've got coming up?
Yeah, I think I'm just stick to what I've been doing. I feel like I've been playing these scenes pretty well. Today was a little bumpy, but I think I got back on track. So I think just keep getting my practice in, and I think my schedule this week's a little rough. So I've got two matches on Saturday this week. So hopefully I can get some good practice in both of them. But yeah. What I've been doing, it seems to be working well for me.
Yeah, definitely. And so with that, NG Dave, do you have any other questions tonight?
I think I've asked what I did have one question about your Cave Bahamut fight. Was there any thought of just keeping the Masa afterwards, or was it?
Yes, I really wanted it. I didn't want to give up all my Star Veils and a Moon Veil that never got off, after, you know, because I pulled the Moon Veil out, used it, and then Bahamut went down. But that fight definitely was not, I thought it was going to go a whole lot different, but it turned out I got through it, and I just felt like the items I had to give up weren't worth it. And I thought I could come back later if I really, really needed it, and come back and get it. So I figured it would be quicker to do that than to try and go and find Star Veils, because I used all of them.
That's a very good point, and given what was waiting for you in Baron Inn, probably the right call.
Yeah, exactly. And I ended up needing one immediately after that, so...
Yeah, definitely. So, go into 2-2. Got those 2 matches. We'll definitely look forward to on Saturday. And again, a very well-run race. Frankie, do you have any final thoughts for us tonight?
GG's to David. Good race tonight. I really, really appreciate him dealing with my technical difficulties. He didn't have to do that, so I definitely appreciate that. Thank you to the Restream team, Engine Dave, and Escarunt and the Bardic Panda, always appreciated doing these late night races. So yeah, thanks to everyone.
And thank you very much for joining us. So with that, we're gonna hop back into looking at where David is at the moment, heading to this Crystal Sword altar. Really only needs to get these last few objectives down, and he's got a free pass through this karate fight.
Yeah, it doesn't need to zerk up anyone. You can just wait for the second kick.
Yeah, although if you do want to berserk the Cecil there, you know, he'll keep swinging, will eventually swing during that. Yeah, might be a little bit slower from the extra swings going off, but should get through that fight with good timing anyways.
Yeah, this next swing from Cecil should end it, even though we haven't seen the kick go off. Because the script that triggers the ouch starts up once the kick is cued.
Yep. And, you know, David is doing a very good job of running through these last few spots in a very quick and efficient manner, too. Now, getting this adamant rock has both of those pieces of forge. If he had wanted to dip out of the moon at this point in time, it will save him a good deal of time. It does look like he is exiting from this crystal sword altar, so he might have just made the right choice there.
He did go peek the Ogopogo and saw Golbez and took a wipe there, so might be deciding, I don't want to deal with that.
Look like he's going to head over to Cave Value. Did not check this earlier, so does not know that the Vanilla Bahamut is waiting for him, but definitely knows that he can get through this fight once he gets down there, so we will see him get through there very shortly.
Yeah, you've got a leveled up Crystal Sword Cecil swinging for 5,000-6,000 a shot. You don't even need to wait for walls. You could just Zerk the Bahamut down before first Meganuke even fires.
Yeah, definitely. This spot is not really that threatening. You know, it's intended to be damage race successfully when you land on them. And we are geared for when you've been through most of the moon. So definitely in good shape here. Obviously you don't have the 5 characters, you only have the 2, but should be through this pretty quickly.
When you first get to the moon in Vanilla, you're also intended to have 2 wall casters for this. You could pop over here right after picking up Fu.
Oh right, I always forget that you can do things after you pick up Fu on the moon. I'm usually like, alright, we got Fu, time to go back to the giant now.
Oh, the giant cutscene doesn't trigger until you use the whale to go back.
But very easily through that fight, gonna pick up that Masa for that edge. There'll be a nice little boost to DPS and getting through the rest of these spots at this point, and you know, we'll just keep on going from there.
Yeah, but we have a fairly classic Zerker party going on now. The best Berserker and the second or third best, depending on your stance on Edward.
My stance on Edward is hope that you get a spoon and an adamant armor within the first 10 to 15 minutes of a seed so you can make him work at that point in time. But David headed back down from the moon. Looks like he's going to only really have the options of Rat Tail and Earth Crystal, so he should be getting that Baron Key very shortly here.
Yeah, looks like he's going to follow the mantra of check your freebies first.
It looks like he might be heading back to the Evelyn Cave here, maybe looking at doing a bit of shopping at this point.
Could want coffins, could realize nah, we don't need coffins.
Come to think of it, I don't remember him checking that item shop on the way through. Might have been looking for Bacchuses that he just realized, oh, I never checked the Evelyn shop. I might as well go see if they're there. You know, would shave off some time if he could find them there, and only getting rewarded with coffins for it, unfortunately.
Have we seen Bacchuses this seed?
I don't think Bacchuses are in this seed at this point in time.
Well, there is a 90% chance they exist, so we hit the 10%.
I think there was a race, you know, I don't want to say too much about this because I know it was on Restream, I don't want to spoiler, but I've seen races where we just don't hit what seems like any of the tier 5 items in any of these shops, and it's really interesting seeing what happens when you don't have access to all that item power.
Right, so what the randomizer does is it puts 90% of the items in the pool. If a bunch of tier 5 items fall in that 10%, well, you just don't have them.
It's very entertaining when it happens, I will say, you know, and if you're looking for entertaining races like that, make sure you check our YouTube playlist like that, updated daily, I believe, more or less, as we get things pushed over to them with the VODs for this tournament. Every race that I have seen in this tournament has been an absolute blast to watch, so if you're looking for more free enterprise, make sure you check that out as well.
David's going to continue to go through, gets his forge. I forget, was there anything of consequences?
I don't remember frankiebones checking the shop at that point in time. I think I was focused on something that was happening on David's side and did not notice myself.
David is missing the legend sword.
Oh, he's gonna have to go back to the moon at that point in time. Did he reset out of after the fight with the legend sword there?
Quick question to our tracker: was that Golbez that had it? I want to say
Magus Sisters, right? It was.
I thought I saw him take the Magus Sisters, so may have just not opened the chest.
He might have not saved in between then and possibly resetting out the Golbez, which I believe he did, in which case would be missing it. But at least he knows where it is, can run right back down, grab it from there at that point.
That makes sense. I know I saw him beat the Magus Sisters.
You know, it's just one of those things. We've all had reset mishaps like that from time to time. It's something that happens at this point.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage for free enterprise. Forget to save, accidentally reset.
Yeah, it is what it is, and will always be what it will be at that point in time. Just gotta keep going at that point, and that tenacity is an important skill to sort of teach yourself a bit. You know, something like that happens, don't get discouraged, head straight back up there, take it. You've already gotten that fight down once, you can get it down again.
Right. It's a lesson you'll learn. Always save after stuff like that. Especially when you're on the moon and the rude fights can show up here.
Yep, so while he's doing this walk back down the moon here, I want to give another quick shout out, of course, again to both of our runners. Make sure you give them a follow, as well as our restream team behind the scenes. Escrant on the restream rolled a very interesting seed for us today. And, of course, Bardic Panda on the tracking, doing a wonderful job keeping track of everything there and making sure we know what's going on.
And shout out to you, Wen, for keeping me in line.
Hey, I mean, it's been a great time. You know, this is one of those seeds where there's a lot of sort of crossing of the map, and there's not a lot going on during crossing the map, so as long as you're able to keep through that part, everything's fine. And David is back here at this part, and yeah, we'll see him get that legend sword again here soon.
Yeah. Okay, so the question is, I think he's trying to figure out which altar. Yup. So yeah, may have taken this fight, didn't save, went down to Golbez and took the wipe there.
Yeah, definitely. And that just happens from time to time. You know, it's just part of the game. Sometimes you reset to save time, and sometimes you don't realize that you might have already gotten through something at that point. But the big question on my mind is, you know, now that he's back up here, has done that walk again, once he gets this legend sword, is he going to be tempted to stay up here and try and push through that Golbez so he does not have to make that walk again if the Earth Crystal and Rat Tail, which he does not know yet, don't end up being that Baron Key.
That's a good point. I don't think he's
Wait, did he turn in the Baron Key already? Turn in the Rat Tail already?
I don't believe so.
He did. Okay. Thanks. So never mind. That's
okay.
It's not on the table. It's really
yeah. Then he knows. Then he knows. Just go get the legend sword and leave. So no reason to deal with Golbez. Let him keep his Comniac at the bottom of the moon. None of us want to hear him start chuckling.
Yeah, that Golbez completely not mandatory in any way, shape, or form, which is pretty much how you want to see a Golbez when you know you don't actually have to do it. Is through there, does have that Legend Sword in hand with a little bit of inventory boss on the side, gonna leave a Crystal Sword behind on the moon, you know, that sort of return it back to where it belongs, you know, take only memories, leave only footprints, and speaking of memories, this moon is no longer important to us. We'll be heading right back down to the planet very soon.
Well, you know, find a sword, take a sword, leave a sword. Is that how it goes?
Yeah, it's like those little dishes at a gas station. You know, you take a penny out and just drop an entire crystal sword into it, walk away with your legally distinct Slurpee, and then just go about your day. And that's kind of where David is at this point in time in the seed.
You leave behind both Crystal and a very confused gas station attendant. Like, wait, what?
So David, heading back underground, back to this Kokol's shop. We'll see what's actually in that shop this time around. Definitely through here and doing very, very well on this seed. Has managed to get through some very difficult stuff along the way, so definitely big shout outs to him for getting through this seed that did not really want to be kind tonight.
No, this had some rudeness to it.
You know, now that I see that shop, it does look very familiar. There's a lot of nice stuff in here, but not crucial stuff. Like, those ribbons help a bit, but not big. The crystal rings seem like the big prize here to me.
Both of which help with magic defense, help you survive big bangs.
Yeah, that crystal ring too, also that bonus agility, always very helpful. You know, I'm not sure it's enough to make a big difference in this case. I don't think it would bump anyone up in that Zeroma's fight, but it could be nice if you wanted to pick them up.
David's selling the farm for another ribbon.
I mean, you might as well at this point. You're not using all that stuff. If you're planning on just berserking the edge anyways, you don't need you don't need darts if you're planning on just berserking them and going and just sort of doing the, we kind of refer it to as put your controller down strats. It's never quite that easy on Zeromus, but that's the closest that you can get to what it is in this case. And yeah, that'll be a might as well just have ribbons to get through it.
Right, David won't need to lean on darts quite as hard as frankiebones did, having that Masamune in hand.
Yeah, he has the Mossy, he has a Crystal Sword Cecil. Both of those going to be doing way more damage than the Yang and Mossless Edge were doing at this point in time. Plus, might have more levels too, just for added strength to make it even harder. You know, that Porum is the only real question mark here. Is that Porum going to live long enough to get through that fight? And I think we're probably fine here.
Yeah, some quick estimations. At worst, David sees second Big Bang. If he doesn't see second, or doesn't see a Meteor. Though, David does have a few darts to use because you do have, I don't believe he's seen any Bacchus, so we'll have to manually berserk the party.
Yeah, that's a bit unfortunate that we didn't find Bacchuses in this seed, where Bacchuses would have been really nice to have, so you're not leaning on that Porum, not leaning on that Tella, not leaning on that Fu on Frankie's side. And I think, really, it's just one of those seeds where the options you wanted at any given point in time weren't there.
And this is a big part of seeing just how strong those J-items really are.
Yeah, definitely. We're through this plague fight now. Just need to head straight to the Odin throne. this point in time. It looks like he's just going to go through the cutscene instead of walking back out afterwards. Perfectly valid thing. It's not that much slower, it's only a little bit, and with Dark Imps, it really won't take that long.
This will be 3 swings and you're out.
It's almost a bit unfortunate that this is Dark Imps as opposed to something where it's 1 swing and you're out, though. It's the only real downside.
That's very true. That's very true. Cecil would be able to one-hit kill most things in this spot.
Trying to think of anything he might not be able to. Maybe doesn't quite get there.
Octomam demist.
But say demist.
Because they resist holy. Well, at least demist resists holy, so that wouldn't be a one-shot.
Yeah, it's a fun fact for those of you playing along at home. Because they wanted to make, I believe it's because they wanted to make demist and Octomam both weak to dark type damage, and I think dark and holy were kind of like coded as 2 sides of the same coin, or they just thought it was thematically appropriate. They decided to make it so that demist and Octomam both resist holy or absorb holy if it's direct casted on them, and it is just the most annoying thing when you run into that demist with the Crystal Sword Cecil at a really high HP spot, and you're just swinging away because you're just not able to do as much damage as you were hoping.
Interesting set of statues we put up to block the walls.
Well, there's that pigtail. I think if you're on David's side and you're a little bit possibly nervous about that Z fight, there is possibly a chance that you go and turn in that pigtail just for a little bit of added safety. An extra 15 agility on Cecil might push him up to the next tier of RA, and I'm pretty sure it will, and get him swinging even faster than he would otherwise, so might be worth the time investment there.
And there's something to be said for just absolute power overwhelming.
Definitely. Honestly, if I'm ever given the choice between something that might lose me a few seconds, but I'm 100% sure I won't wipe to it, I'll take that over the one that I'm not 100% sure on. I say that in theory. In practice, I'm like, nope, going straight to the C fight. Gonna try and hit it down? I don't care anymore.
You two are of the school of just charge in.
Exactly. It has never worked for me though. So he goes and turns in the pigtail. I fully understand, and I think it's definitely a good idea.
And we see Cecil's guys targeting a bit off. He decides to go for the queen first.
Yeah, that's just kind of unfortunate. You berserk up that Cecil, you hope he hits the right target there. The queen is kind of, I don't want to say wasted damage, but it kind of is, because she's going to fall over the moment the king falls over, just from the counter script, or the way the boss is scripted. The counter script is incorrect anyways. So really at that point in time, you're just hoping that the king falls over. Might have been a little bit faster to not berserk there, but it's not going to make too much of a difference. And as crystal in hand, going to be able to run right out now.
We might see the second adamant armor pick up. I think the first adamant armor is already on Cecil. But Edge would like one too.
Oh, that's right. He did go back to the Fey March bosses. For some reason, I forgot that he had done that. I think it's because he was doing that while we were in the interview. I was a bit more focused on that. My mistake there. But he might as well, if he wants to grab one for that Edge, might as well. But it looks like he is just going to head straight up to Troya and go on into this fight.
And with the amount of power, it's basically one more multiplier for Edge. I believe that Edge has a power shirt on already.
Yeah, it's not going to make a huge difference. It would really only make Edge swing a little bit faster, clog up that Q a little bit more, so that Aromas is that a little bit slower, but I don't think it's going to matter enough to make a big difference there.
So I'm fairly certain that Tell is cursed, so everyone is already as fast as they're going to get.
That's right, he did pick up a curse string. He picked up the one in the shop in Agart, whereas Frankie found the one in the watery pass.
Exactly, we saw him do a little bit of shopping and found one.
have to forgive me. It's late, and then when it gets this late, I start turning into an old man reminiscing about things from the past and have to remember back to the very start of the seed.
To be fair, that's seed bleed happens to us all.
But David, now in this fight, going to be able to cruise right on through it. Should not take that long. I'm very interested in seeing how his fight goes compared to Frankie's fight. Frankie, of course, we saw had that sort of edge of his seat, really difficult Zerona's fight. I think David's looks a bit more stable. But Porum is at about the same amount of HP as Fu was at, so we'll see.
We'll see that Porum is surprisingly good at dodging everything. I don't know what it is, but she just sometimes says, I'm not getting hit by anything you want to throw at me.
Definitely just going to throw out the crystal now. Has Porum casting a Berserk already. Just needs to throw out that Silk Web from there. This could be a bit rough if the nuke lands on the wrong person from the Silk Web.
We got a short pause here before, to make sure Zeromus become vulnerable to damage before it's starting to darts. And the Silk Web should fire.
Yeah, definitely. I know that there's a certain amount of timing there because I somehow managed to always fizzle mine. That nuke is going to go on edge, which is a little bit unfortunate. Needs to get that Cure 4 out before the Big Bang goes off, which should be fine. No, not quite. I think edge is going to fall here.
Yeah, the problem here was Porum's position in the party order.
Definitely, but can make this back up. Just needs to get Edge back on his feet. Unfortunately, that pretty much locks us into seeing the next Big Bang 100%. So we will definitely see that. Should be fine. I think even at the point where, you know, Cecil's hitting for 7.5k, if Big Bang knocks over Porum, you can probably still finish this with just Cecil swinging away.
Right, we should... This will get us into the phase, or into the second phase, HP refill, before seeing... before we see the next Big Bang.
Yep, Edge just getting those darts out while Porum is doing the healing. Looks like just going to sit on this Porum's turn right now. Maybe a little bit concerned about seeing that next Big Bang here. Ready for it with that Cure 4 though.
And there we go. That flash shows us that David has gotten through Bobomus.
Definitely, and we'll see if we can get David in for an interview here. But that was a very, very almost, I don't want to say clinically Zeromus fight because it sort of underplays it. We are joined by David. First of all, GG's on your run tonight.
Thank you, thank you.
So, take us back to start, dealing with the offensive juggernaut that is Tella and Porum.
Well, so we started the seed, and I generally like to do Evelyn first, but with Teleforum start, I did not think that would give me anything that would really help me. So I did what I normally do in those situations and went to Doroya, and then I checked the Hobbs character, trying to get some more power, and the Yang was not the powerhouse I wanted to see, and Mylon was a bit of a rough start for me, to be quite honest, as most of the seed was, as you may have been able to tell from my finishing time. I don't have a whole lot of experience, at least not as much as the rest of the runners you're probably used to seeing. So the overworld was a bit rough for me. And the underworld after that. Also, I did some very stubborn decision making in refusing to use sirens in the underworld after clearing the overworld, trying my best to get the character check first to try to get more information, because if I wanted to see a Cecil and wanted to save my grind for afterward, but I needed the power to clear it at all. I also, my brain just kind of blanked, and when I went down to Feymarch to get the freebie there, and I saw what the bosses were, I bought hourglasses in case one of them was freebie, and then I just kind of looked at them, dipped, and then I was going down to Yang when I thought to myself, wait, one of those was guards. I could have just done that. And trying to think if there's anything else in the early game other than those. Yeah, early game, most of my decision making was influenced by the fact that after Mylon, after CPU, and after a kind of slow ordeals fights where I had to get off the ground, I fell behind. I then tried to do, I did Eblin. I think I dipped Eblin once before ordeals. I was trying to look for J items to actually do ordeals. I found Stardust and then dipped and was able to clear it. I don't remember when I went back to Eblin. I think it was after getting Edge to try to find Edge weapons. And then very greedily thought that I could do the Mad Ogre chest in timely fashion, looking for adamant armor. What else? I repeatedly made the mistake of trying there. Trying to think of anything else that I did of note in the early game, at least. That was my general thought process. As you could probably tell, it did not play out very well for me.
You know,
Hey, you still got through it, so GG's for clearing.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Even
definitely.
through the... I just want to say, because I can't believe it actually happened, when I went to Forge and did not have the Legend Sword, I just had to laugh at that moment, honestly.
So I did have one question. You finished Dwarf, you got through the D-Lunars in Dwarf Castle. Was there any thought of taking the Fusoya it offered you?
I'm sorry, you cut out there a little bit at the end. What did you...
You got through the D-Lunars.
Yes.
Was there a thought of taking the Fusoya when you saw him?
I thought about taking the Fusoya. I thought, so my first thought was taking over Tella, and taking over Porum. My party at the time, it was Yang, and yeah, I still had Yang then. So I had Yang, I had Edge, and then I had Tella with the Cursed Ring, and then I had Porum. I thought about ditching Tella for Fu, but then I thought that I might need a tighter anchor because Fusoya has 20 agility, so the Cursed Ring wouldn't take him down to... It wouldn't take him down to 1, it would take him down to 5, which is still workable, and he still has the full list of spells. But at that point... so my thinking there, at least, was when I saw the Fu after clearing D-Lunar, was I have Sirens and I can grind, and I think that this is a party that I would be fine taking to Zeromus and that doesn't need much help if I just pop these 10 Sirens. And I don't know that the Fu does a whole lot over the Tella in that spot, and I don't know that it does a whole lot of a Porum after the grind, because Porum's white magic stat would be better. And I will say, 100%, I could have been wrong. I could have made the incorrect decision. But that was my thinking at the time.
Okay,
I
just
think
for future
you've
reference.
made a lot of really, really good decisions on thinking your way around the problems that you were facing there. And I think that's definitely something that's worth noting, because while you may have had a rough time with the siege, you definitely demonstrated good, decision making on, okay, what do I do if I don't think I can get through this right now? And I definitely think that's worth noting.
My opinion, after playing all these seeds against these players that are better than me, and having people talk about it with me and looking over the VODs, I think that I can get through the things that are thrown at me eventually, and eventually is the key word there.
As you get more experience, the eventually will come.
Yeah.
And we all started from trying to puzzle out some of these fights.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think, we'll definitely look forward to seeing not only your last couple of matches in this tournament, but also, hopefully we'll see you in the next tournament as well, and definitely see where you've gone from there too.
I hope to participate in the next tournament also, and hopefully I will do better than the 0-4 start that I've shown here.
It's a tough group too, to be fair, so
yeah,
definitely nothing to be ashamed of on that front.
Oh yeah, that was definitely the first thought when I got put in it.
So, NG Dave, did you have any other questions for David tonight?
I do not.
All right, David, any final thoughts for us before we let you go and on the rest of this evening here?
Yeah, I very much hope you enjoyed my casual Let's Play of Final Fantasy IV tonight. I hope you had as much fun as I did. That's all I got.
We definitely had fun watching it. Thank you so much for joining us, and thank you again for this race. And I think with that is going to lead us to the finish tonight. Definitely was a very fun race to watch. Reminder to everyone that tomorrow is the tournament day off, so there will be no restreamed races tomorrow, and the next one will be on Tuesday at time to be determined. So make sure you keep an eye out on our Discord for that. And with that, I want to give a thank you to S-Grunt on the restream, Bardic Panda on the tracking, and NG Dave for co-commentating with me, as well, of course, to both of our runners tonight. NG Dave, any final thoughts before we head off for the evening?
Well, big thing is everyone out there in Free Enterprise, enjoy your day off tomorrow. I know our admins have definitely earned it, given how much they put in, just keeping everything running, keeping everything smooth.
Yeah, and heading into this final week of matches, every match counts at this point, so definitely make sure you tune back in on Tuesday. With that, we are going to be sending you on over to Tallgrant now, who is doing some practice on these, I think he's doing group flags practice. I need to reread this note that I had here. Yeah, Tallgrant doing, doing practice. Either way, it doesn't really say. But we will catch you all in the next one. Reminders, no spoilers for this race or any other one that went on today, in case people want to watch it back later. And we will see you all on Tuesday. Have a good night, everyone.